Oprah has been in some hot water lately, but I'm sure it's no shock to hear that she's been lying to everyone about so many different things. From her weight to her guests she's had on, Oprah is now being exposed as a liar. Throughout her career, Oprah has been made fun of for her appearance, and especially her weight. She even said, "It was public sport to make fun of me for 25 years. I have been blamed and shamed, and I blamed and shamed myself." One hurtful moment came in her early career. Early in her career when she landed on fashion critic Mr. Blackwell's list. I was on the cover of some magazine and it said, "Dumpy, frumpy, and downright lumpy." I didn't feel angry. I felt sad. I felt hurt. I swallowed the shame. I accepted that it was my fault. Now this is just honestly sad, and throughout her entire career people have been focused on her appearance. But with this, she would lose weight and then ended up gaining it back. It was a constant cycle she was stuck in. Now one controversial moment regarded her weight loss in 1988. She started her show off by taking off an oversized coat and wheeling out a wagon holding 67 pounds of animal fat, the amount that she had lost in less than 5 months. It was full of theatrics. Now, the episode drew huge attention, earning the highest ratings in the show's history. However, years later, Oprah expressed regret about it, stating that it was simply an ego trip and admitting that she eventually regained all the weight. That's not all with her weight though. She's recently been in another controversy regarding it. For the past 10 years, Oprah worked with Weight Watchers, a diet program that was all the craze. Although it has been criticized by a lot of people as being harmful and promoting disordered eating, Oprah swore by it and promoted it every chance she got. She said the Weight Watchers program helped her lose her weight, but she came under fire in 2023 saying that she was actually using an unnamed weight loss drug, and that's how she was able to lose a lot of weight. So she lied to a bunch of people and her audience honestly felt hurt by it. Then in 2024, she decided to step down and stop working with Weight Watchers altogether. It seemed like she didn't need them anymore now that she had her weight loss education. Many people are saying she's a sellout and that everything she's ever stood for was a lie. And hey, I can't blame people for being upset over this. It's very likely that she's taking Ozempic or Ozempic adjacent, which is actually a medication for people who are diabetics. A lot of normal people every day can't afford this medication and also don't want to take it from the people who really need it, diabetics. I mean, I'm glad she's happy with her body now, but it feels like she tricked a lot of people into believing something that will never come true. It's just scummy, and a lot of people have stopped being a fan of hers. Then there's how Oprah grew up. Kitty Kelley is a journalist and author of best-selling unauthorized biographies. She wrote one about Oprah and dropped some huge bombshells. Oprah was born in Mississippi to a single teenage mother and grew up in extreme poverty. During her childhood, the cost of raising Oprah became too much for her mother to handle, so she was sent to live with her biological father. Since then, Oprah has come forward about how she had been mistreated and taken advantage of by her cousin, uncle, and family friend. As a young teenager, and after suffering for years, she ran away from home, and a year later, she became pregnant. She gave birth to a son, but he was premature and passed away only a few weeks later. Kitty, though, says this isn't true. Oprah claims she never had any new dresses or dolls and had to adopt 2 cockroaches as pets growing up in rural Mississippi. Her cousin contends she was actually relatively spoiled as a little girl. Where Oprah got that nonsense about growing up in filth and roaches, I have no idea, Catherine Carr Esther said. I've confronted her and asked, "Why do you tell such lies?" Oprah told me that's what people want to hear. The truth is boring. Something else revealed is that Oprah still does not know the true identity of her father. Esther told Kelly who he is, on the condition she not publish the information until Winfrey's mother comes clean to her daughter. Vernon Winfrey, the man who raised Oprah, is also frustrated with the way she has played fast and loose with the truth. She may be admired by the world, but I know the truth, he says. So does God, and so does Oprah. 2 of us remain ashamed. Oprah's relationship with her stepmother has soured, and it was exposed to the world. It was reported that she was accused of being heartless by her own stepmother after she was kicked out of the 5-bedroom South Nashville home she shared with the Oprah's father for 14 years. Barbara Winfrey told the Daily Mail that her life had been deliberately ruined by the talk show legend following a bitter divorce with Vernon Winfrey. Oprah's a billionaire 3 times over. Her help lived better than this, Barbara pointed out, adding, "She said publicly that she offered to sell the house and give me the proceeds, but that was a lie, and she never said that. Oprah owns a property all over the world, so there was no reason to sell this house other than to spite me. It's a personal vendetta." Legal papers claim that Oprah was involved in a conspiracy to separate her father and stepmother, and essentially make the latter homeless. What she has done is nothing short of evil, but she doesn't scare me. Her actions cause me to disrespect her, Barbara stated. Yikes, that's not a good look at all considering she's all about helping people, but she doesn't help out her family. Then there was the book club controversy. Back in the day, Oprah had a book club where she would promote a book on her show and usually have the author on for an interview. This would result in the book going on the best-selling list, but she had a scandal with this in 2005. Oprah added James Frey's book A Million Little Pieces to the reading list, and in October 2005, James appeared on the Oprah Winfrey Show to promote his book, which the talk show host had previously said she couldn't put down, calling it a gut-wrenching memoir that is so raw and so real. Now, when James was promoting the books on talk shows or other media outlets, it was referred to as a memoir, but large parts of the stories were later found to be exaggerated or fabricated, sparking a media controversy. This was discovered after an investigation conducted by The Smoking Gun. They determined that James had actually fictionalized some of the story, so he was caught lying, and the fact that Oprah promoted it was not a good look at all. Controversy arose after Oprah initially defended the book, but she later confronted James on her show in January of 2006. Winfrey began the live program by telling him, "It is difficult for me to talk to you because I feel really duped, but more importantly, I feel you betrayed millions of readers." Frey admitted to Winfrey that he had altered and embellished details of his story, including the fact that he had been in jail for just several hours, not 87 days, as stated in his book. Oprah also confronted the publisher of A Million Little Pieces, saying her staff have been contacted about possible inaccuracies in the book, only to be told that the publishing company stood by James' story as a work of non-fiction. During the show, the publisher acknowledged that A Million Little Pieces had not been fact-checked. It seems like Oprah did her research about the book afterwards, but her helping spread misinformation is truly dangerous, and she hasn't taken a lot of accountability. If she tried to get away with this, who knows what other lies she'd make up.
Oprah has been a hot topic lately after people started noticing she appeared in many photos with disgraced rapper Diddy over the years. Some people are wondering just how close these two celebrities really are. Diddy has had many lawsuits filed against him over the past year, accusing him of being intimate without people's consent, feeding people things without consent, hosting elaborate parties in which he would film the activities and then allegedly use that footage to blackmail participants into keeping quiet, and just generally being and doing things that would make him a horrible person and not the type of guy your name or person next to. Unfortunately, people have caught on to the past friendly relationship between Oprah and Diddy, and now people are accusing Oprah of being an accomplice in his crimes. But this incident with Diddy isn't the first time Oprah has been connected to some shady people in the entertainment industry. Music artist Seal seemingly publicly made his stance on Oprah when he posted a picture of the talk show host being very friendly with a widely hated, disgraced former Hollywood producer. Oprah was photographed many times with the big Hollywood producer who had a very public falling out with the industry after his past came to light, kind of like how she has been pictured many times with Diddy. Seal joined the producer conversation after he posted a call out on Instagram. There were a couple of photos with text featuring Oprah looking friendly with the man, the text reading, "When you have been part of the problem for decades, but suddenly they all think you are the solution." Seal added his own caption calling out an individual for hearing the rumors of the man's actions but not doing anything about it. Seal didn't say Oprah was the individual, but her face was right there. Everyone assumed he was shading Oprah. Seal claimed that this wasn't the case and it was more about the producer in the picture. It just happened to be Oprah opposite him. He also claimed that the text accompanying the image was not a direct attack and instead supposed to be interpreted as a generalization of the entertainment industry. Some people believe that Seal allegedly felt pressured into saying this just because Oprah's face was so heavily featured in the pictures. They found it odd that he would say it wasn't about her when he called out an individual and there were plenty of other people pictured with the man that he could have used. It's definitely an odd situation, and we're still not sure if Seal was trying to call out Oprah for her past relationship to the man, especially as someone who has built a brand around helping victims, or if he really did just want to call out the man and everyone in the entertainment industry for not stopping him sooner. 50 Cent is calling people out left and right now with all the new Diddy allegations, especially those against Jay-Z, and this is something he's done for a long time. Oprah was called out by 50 Cent back in 2019 for her relationship to the former Hollywood producer. In his words, Oprah was going after one demographic of people when it came to certain crimes and letting another demographic get by without much resistance. Their feud has been going on for a while. It started when Winfrey publicly criticized his music and writing style. 50 Cent responded to this with, "Are you going to tell a painter what to paint? I'm an artist. Why am I limited to what you feel should be said?" He also made the claim that Oprah appears to let one demographic of people get away with more than the other. Oprah's track record at the time made it look like she was putting all her focus on condemning the actions of black men and leaving out white men, like that producer. 50 Cent said, "I don't understand why Oprah is going after black men. This is sad. These documentaries are publicly convicting their targets and makes them guilty until proven innocent." The doc he likely was referring to was Leaving Neverland. Oprah helped this doc. It was about two men that were sharing their stories about their experiences with Michael Jackson when they were young. Independently, Oprah funding this documentary, it's not odd. She's a prominent figure for the Me Too movement and often speaks out about these issues. What made people suspicious was that this doc that Oprah gave a boost was premiering at the same time as one about that previously mentioned producer. Some people allege this was done on purpose to drown out the noise surrounding the producer's doc. It is suspicious that only one seemed to earn media coverage and good reviews. A Hollywood entertainment lawyer made the claim that all that stuff about boosting this Neverland doc was in fact done in an effort to distract from the producer's own documentary. But other than speculation and rumor, there is nothing out there to confirm if Oprah did fund the doc for these reasons. All she said on her decision to provide financial support was that she did it because she believed the survivors and felt the issue was too important to stay silent. Social media personality Adria English revealed in an interview some pretty shocking secrets about Oprah's properties. She claimed that there is a tunnel system running under Oprah's home. Not only that, but that these tunnels connected to Diddy's home. Not only that, but Diddy and Oprah worked together and transported his victims via the tunnels, and for the last time, not only that, but she was given the address of a tunnel entrance. This is all alleged, of course, because there's no proof that there are tunnels under Oprah's home or ones that would lead to Diddy's house, but rumors of a tunnel system below Oprah's properties have been around for years. People have been accusing Oprah of being part of a larger bad situation for a long time now. The reason Adria English is involved with Diddy is because she unfortunately has shared that she was one of his victims. She filed a lawsuit against Diddy, claiming she worked for Combs in the 2000s at his Hamptons and Miami parties. In addition to allegedly being forced to consume things, English claims she was also forced to engage in actions she didn't want to do. She claims Diddy told her that in exchange for her actions, he would help her and her then boyfriend break into the entertainment world. English says he never kept up his end of the bargain. Now she is suing Diddy and his co-conspirators for $50 billion. Adria English had legal representation, but they parted ways due to irreconcilable differences. One of the lawyers claimed that English was disrespectful and self-destructive. The legal team did clarify that they never lost faith in her case, just in her. Allegedly, English responded with, "I'm the client, you work for me." But back to Oprah, a major point of tension between English and her legal team was that they told her not to speak to the media. Soon after parting ways, English spoke to independent media, and the interview made its way around TikTok and Instagram gossip pages. This is where English claimed that there were tunnels under Oprah's home. She also made the bold statement she sees what's going on because she's a participant. She claimed that Oprah was recently under house arrest too, after being caught with a young person. Now, regarding the participant thing, there's no proof that Oprah did engage with Diddy or anyone from his parties intimately. And then for the house arrest bit, that was not true. Oprah was never under house arrest. That was a rumor on the internet proven false by multiple news sites and Oprah herself. Actress and comedian Monique accused Oprah of stealing her acting roles. The pair used to get along. Monique actually even considered herself a huge Oprah fan, but that changed after a disagreement regarding the Precious press tour. Oprah served as an executive producer on the Oscar-winning film Precious. Apparently, the film process was great, but then something happened after between the two that completely flipped Monique's point of view on the talk show host. Allegedly, there was a disagreement regarding promotional appearances for the movie. This situation just kicked off their alleged feud. Oprah's actions about a year later only made things worse. Oprah invited Monique's estranged brother onto the show. Her brother had done some pretty terrible things to Monique when she was young, so this Oprah appearance wasn't received well. On top of that, Oprah also invited Monique's other family members too without her knowledge. It was a mess. Speaking on it, Monique said, "You betrayed me, sister. Family is sacred and we don't cross the line with family." Oprah is known for not shying away from tough topics, but many agree that this seriously crossed a line. Due to the drama here, Monique lost out on some opportunities she claimed were previously offered to her. Some of them went to Oprah, leading to Monique claiming that after everything went down, 2 film roles she had were stolen by Oprah. What was once seen as an odd career move by Angelina Jolie turned into the actress dodging a huge scandal. Angelina Jolie and Oprah Winfrey are both huge philanthropists. Oprah hoped to join forces with Angelina Jolie in 2006 when she was opening her Oprah Winfrey Leadership Academy for Girls in South Africa. But strangely, Angelina refused. This seemed like the kind of thing Angelina would love to work on. She has her own charity that donates thousands to girls' education all over the world, so what happened? Allegedly, Jolie wasn't very happy with Oprah taking Jennifer Aniston's side during the famous Jennifer, Angelina, Brad love triangle. Whether this is the real reason or not, it turns out Angelina not getting involved protected her from a huge scandal. The Leadership Academy officially opened in 2007, and that same year was also the time of the school's first controversy. A female staff member was accused of acting inappropriately towards the young students, as well as physically fighting a dorm parent, and in a separate incident injuring 3 while operating a golf cart. She was arrested and faced 14 charges. As a result of that whole thing, Oprah made it clear that she was doing an overhaul of the school and made the comment that she had lost faith in her headmistress. The headmistress claimed that this made it very hard for her to find work after everything and ended up suing Winfrey on grounds of defamation for over $250,000. The 2 women settled things privately before their court date.
From Janet Jackson to some of the biggest rappers in the industry, Oprah has rubbed quite a few famous people the wrong way. These are celebrities who exposed Oprah's red flags to the public. In the world of Hollywood, Oprah's relationships with celebrities have always been talked about, whether it's good or bad, and when it comes to the Jackson family, mostly been bad. Janet Jackson in particular made it very clear that she wasn't a fan of Oprah, especially after the infamous 2010 interview with her parents, Joe and Katherine Jackson. Randy Jackson, Michael's brother, was the first to make his opinion of Oprah known, tweeting angrily about Oprah, writing, "I know how Oprah feels about my brother and family," going on to accuse her of making Michael look bad in public by airing old footage of his 2005 trial. He even went as far as claiming Oprah, quote, wanted to see Michael in jail. Janet Jackson also went after Oprah. When Oprah was granted access to Michael's former home to interview his kids, Janet wasn't happy. The Jackson family had long known that Michael didn't really trust Oprah, especially when it came to his family, so Michael had made it clear that he didn't want them exposed to the public eye. So you can imagine how the family felt when Oprah pushed ahead with filming an exclusive interview with his kids. Janet was reportedly furious about this, believing Oprah was using Michael's family for ratings, which, I mean, not much speculation there, that's clearly what's going on. A source close to the Jacksons told the National Enquirer that Janet called Oprah out during a heated phone call, at one point saying, quote, "Oprah, you make me sick." And yeah, can't really blame her there. Oprah had crossed a line. The Jacksons felt like they were being used as pawns in Oprah's media chess game, and it was clear that Janet in particular wasn't having any of it. She wasn't the only one upset though. Later, Michael's brother Jermaine took to Twitter criticizing Oprah for blindly supporting the Leaving Neverland documentary, which reignited old accusations against Michael. He tweeted, "So many in media, including Oprah, blindly taking Leaving Neverland at face value. We faced similar graphic claims, plus trial by media in 2005. Jury saw through it all. Trial by law proved Michael's innocence long ago." Now, not too long ago, Ice Cube shared some personal grievances about being snubbed by 2 major TV outlets, Oprah Winfrey's show and The View. Now, during an appearance on Tucker Carlson, which oddly enough he was on there, Ice Cube shared his thoughts about his attempts to get on both programs, only to be turned down. According to Cube, his exclusion wasn't just about his work, but his political views. He said, "I tried to go on The View, they didn't have me on The View," adding that producers told him some of the hosts simply didn't like where he was coming from. He went on to say, "I've been on there before, it's just when I become an independent thinker, I don't follow their brand of politics, I guess." Cube also pointed the finger at Oprah, claiming she's had issues with him for years. "I've been excluded on Oprah," he went on to say, recalling how he was left out of promotional opportunities for his projects. One glaring example was the time he produced Barbershop, a movie he felt deserved a spot on Oprah's show, but he was left off the guest list. I wasn't invited to participate with the cast, he said. And it wasn't just Barbershop. Cube also produced the show Black White, and Oprah interviewed the full cast, but again, minus Cube. He said, she had the whole cast on, and I wasn't invited, so I don't know what that's really about. Ludacris didn't have a very good time on his Oprah appearance in the mid-2000s, describing it as uncomfortable. He didn't shy away from sharing the details either. He was on to promote the movie Crash, an Oscar-winning film centered around racial discrimination in America. While on the show with his co-stars, Oprah took the opportunity to address some issues that she had with his music, specifically the use of the N-word and derogatory language towards women. Now, according to Ludacris, Winfrey's questioning felt more like an interrogation than an interview. In a GQ interview after the show, he talked about how uncomfortable the entire experience left him, saying, quote, "She edited out a lot of my comments while keeping her own in. Now, of course, it's her show, but we were doing a show on racial discrimination, and she gave me a hard time as a rapper when I came on there as an actor." Things didn't really get any better either. Ludacris said Oprah then pulled him aside for a quick private chat, saying, "After the taping, she pulled me into a room and we had a 5-minute conversation. What I got was that by having rappers on her show, she feels like she's empowering them." The conversation left him feeling like an outsider though, especially because the vibe of the whole show had left him feeling so off. Ludacris went on to say that being on the show was like being at someone's house that doesn't really want you there. Oprah later defended herself and made it clear that she didn't have a problem with rap music as a whole, but that while she respected the freedom of artists to express themselves, she had concerns about content that could marginalize certain groups, particularly women, saying, "I don't want to be marginalized by music or any form of art. I'm a woman who has worked very hard for my status in the world, and as a human being, I feel rap is a form of expression, as is jazz. I'm not opposed to rap. I'm opposed to being marginalized as a woman." Ludacris and Oprah didn't have any kind of feud after this though. It was awkward, but that was really about it. For this next rapper though, not quite the case. 50 Cent did not hold back when talking about how he feels about Oprah Winfrey. In his book Hustle Harder, Hustle Smarter, he talked about how he initially wanted to appear on her show to impress his grandmother and prove his success, but Oprah publicly slammed his lyrics, calling them misogynist and accusing him of glorifying violence. He wrote, "She was completely against everything that was in my music, so she ain't never going to have me on that show. I'm never going to reach that platform," which is confirmation of being a huge success. This was a turning point for 50 Cent, leading him to jokingly say, "If we can't be friends, then at least let's be enemies." He even named his dog after Oprah apparently and poked fun at her fan base, saying that they were mainly just elderly white women. So yeah, there was some tension to say the least here, but 50 did say later he and Oprah became more cordial, but he still disagreed with her criticism, saying, "Are you going to tell a painter what to paint? I'm an artist. Why am I limited to what you feel should be said?" Then in 2019, 50 took to Instagram to talk about Oprah again, talking about how she, quote, "goes after black men," referring to her involvement in the essay allegations against Michael Jackson and Russell Simmons, while being totally silent about men like Epstein or that major film producer with the initials HW who basically kicked off the Me Too movement. I wonder why that is. Oh. Yeah. Also in 2019, Monique took her turn calling out Oprah. It all started back when Monique was promoting her Oscar-winning role in Precious. Oprah did an interview, but not in the way you're thinking. The interview was with Monique's brother, Gerald, who had mistreated her growing up. And Monique, in a now deleted Periscope video, admitted that she had given Oprah her blessing to talk to Gerald, but what she didn't expect was for Oprah to bring her parents, Stephen and Alice, into the mix. Monique was shocked and horrified when they appeared in the audience for the interview. In the video, Monique said that Oprah crossed a line by involving her parents in something so personal, explaining that it was one thing for Oprah to interview Gerald, but the public display with her parents was another. As she said in a later interview, "Oprah didn't just interview my brother, she had my parents there too, and that hurt my heart." While Monique tried to move past the issue and even forgive Oprah, the scars from that betrayal were deep. The source told Radar Online in 2010 that Monique was still holding onto a grudge against her parents too, believing they hadn't fully acknowledged Gerald's mistreatment of her. The source added that even though Monique had forgiven Oprah, she couldn't let go of the hurt from her family's role in the drama, and that grudge, she said, could, quote, go to the grave. Alright, we've dumped on Oprah quite a bit, but here's a situation where she was clearly the victim. Joan Rivers was never one to hold back. If she didn't like you, you'd know it. Her beef with Oprah was no exception, and it really didn't take long for this little feud to become a thing. Rivers actually started it on Oprah's first ever national TV appearance on The Tonight Show in 1985. Oprah, in her book Food, Health, and Happiness, talked about the moment, writing, "It was all going smoothly, I was starting to settle in, and then it happened. Joan interrupted with perhaps the only question I hadn't prepared for. So how'd you gain the weight?" Oprah was understandably taken aback, continuing, "Wait a minute, did she just use my national television debut to ask me why I was so fat?" She added that Joan wagged her finger and told Oprah, "I don't want to hear your excuses. You shouldn't have let this happen. You're still a single girl." Yikes. And things didn't even end there. Joan took it up a notch, challenging Oprah to come back 15 pounds lighter next time. Jeez, yeah. Joan Rivers was just savage. Funny, but she had her not so great moments, no doubt. Now, according to some sources, Joan wasn't just playing the tough love card here. She allegedly couldn't stand Oprah, calling her completely opportunistic. One insider claimed that Joan says Oprah is the biggest phony in the world, feels Oprah's real gift is exploiting people's suffering and emotions and turning them into TV ratings. And she's not entirely wrong there. I think people like Dr. Phil are way worse in that regard. And I mean, Jerry Springer. My God. At least Jerry wore it on his sleeve though. That show was just so in your face offensive. There was no hiding it. You got what was on the tin. But anyway, totally fair for Joan to call her out for that. But calling her fat on national TV, that was pretty low.
Puff Daddy is currently facing some serious allegations that have tarnished the reputation he built for himself in the music industry and beyond. Once a close-knit circle of celebrity friends seems to be distancing themselves in the wake of these serious allegations. Well, there's a leaked VHS tape allegedly sent as an invitation to Puffy's 29th birthday back in 1998 that has further raised a number of eyebrows. So known for his love of partying, Puff Daddy has never shied away from going out and about while hosting such events, although some of his current legal troubles reportedly stem from similar gatherings. But I digress. So the nearly 6-minute long video serves both as a time capsule from the peak of the bad boy era and as a reminder of how far Puff Daddy, who even skipped this year's Grammy Awards and is now kind of, out of action, has slipped socially amid the investigation. So the tape, which arrived in the hands of the most powerful and glamorous players in LA and New York in a black velvet pouch with the birthday gala, November 4th, 1998 written on it in white script, features, wait for it folks, Oprah, Ellen DeGeneres, Chris Rock, Mariah Carey, Magic Johnson, Will Smith, Ben Stiller, Joan Rivers, Steven Tyler, Joe Perry, Tommy Hilfiger, Clive Davis, Ronald Perlman, Penny Marshall, Stephen Baldwin, and so many more. And they're all taking turns to hype the bash, encouraging the recipients to RSVP and to goof off for the camera. It all begins with a strange home video style skit in which Danny DeVito, lying on a sofa under a blanket, is like, "That's right, Puff Daddy's having a party, and this is Puff Daddy inviting you to come. Let's have a ball." And then the cavalcade of A-listers take turns reading from a script detailing the date and time, exactly how fabulous and expensive the affair will be, and then reading an address to RSVP to. Apparently the venue, which turned out to be Cipriani Wall Street, would be revealed later. One person refers to the "I'll Be Missing You" rapper as the legendary Puff Daddy. Some folks, including Ellen DeGeneres, tease him for his many monikers. Some other folks make fun of their own unease with hip-hop slang. One reliable source who attended the bash said, "I'd forgotten how much was made of the party in the press. I think bigger celebs and moguls were fascinated by the chutzpah of this 29-year-old. The Daily News reported that at the time the bash cost $600,000 and 1,600 people were on that list. The Observer compared it to Truman Capote's black and white ball at the Plaza, writing that while Truman's party was more for the creme de la creme of society, Puff Daddy was celebrating the kind of high-profile commercial success and notoriety that knows no bounds. So for decades, these parties were the place to be. Puff Daddy had all sorts of them. He had his annual Hamptons White Party. We had a number of blow-up birthday bashes like the one I just mentioned. There were these lavish champagne and caviar-filled soirees, and these were attended by the likes of Jay-Z, Beyonce, J-Lo, Leonardo DiCaprio, and so many more. There was chatter. Leonardo DiCaprio did step back after a snap from one of the infamous parties came to light, and a friend of his mentioned, look, He just went to a party, it wasn't that big of a deal, they weren't super close. But like, look, back when Leonardo showed up at Puff Daddy's white party, the music star had tagged Leonardo as the #1 person he wanted at the bash. But apparently a source close to the situation is like, no, Leo had no connection with Puff Daddy ever since that party in 1998. The insider made it clear that the actor was not involved in the freak-offs. Well, a source shares that they were known to be wild. Anything went to those parties. And ever since all those legal things have been coming into light this year, there's been a lot of speculation about what goes on there. There's been talks of rooms just for getting it on. There's been rampant substance use. There's been these all-night getting it on situations. Apparently, and these freak-offs were mentioned in the 14-page indictment, victims were, given substances against their will, forced to participate in extended performances that could last days at a time with professional workers. These things took place at hotels. Now, we gotta remember that Puff Daddy did plead not guilty to the charges and has denied all claims of SA. How much or how little did his A-list guests actually see at these crazy parties? Well, a couple of celebs have not been tight-lipped. In a 2014 episode of Keeping Up with the Kardashians, Khloe Kardashian recalled hitting up a Puff Daddy bash in Las Vegas, and she's like, yeah, this party, I think half the people were like, in the nude. And when asked about what went down when somebody else attended, Ashton Kutcher was like, I got a lot I can't say. And he said that verbatim in 2019 on Hot Ones. He's like, yeah, going through my little Rolodex of stories, can't tell that one either. In 2016, Howard Stern asked Usher, who lived with Puff Daddy for a year when he was, getting a start in the industry. And Howard Stern was like, hey, would you let anybody in your family go to one of those parties? Usher was like, nope. So obviously following all of this, a lot of folks are like, okay, we were maybe at the parties, but we didn't see anything. 50 Cent has been very, very vocal for a very long time, being like, nope, I didn't go to those parties. It's an uncomfortable energy, which in retrospect, probably a very smart man. Puff Daddy's friend Ray J was like, I've never seen anything that's been said there. I've never been in rooms that people are talking about. I don't think they existed. A lot of people in the industry can agree with me on that sense. Now look, apparently all the unsavory behavior took place at the after parties. What happened before 2 a.m. pales into comparison to what happened at 5 a.m. There was a source who wrangled guests for these parties, and yeah, the high-profile celebs would apparently leave around 2 to 3 a.m., and that's when the party took a turn for the naughty. Folks would lose their clothes, which was apparently the signal for people to leave. That's when fun things would come out, and that's when it would turn into a bender. During an intimate discussion with Oprah, peeling away the layers of his complex life, Puff Daddy evoked curiosity by avoiding details about the origin of the Puff Daddy moniker. So this conversation was part of an interview for O Magazine, and Oprah was just casually asking. She's like, what's going on here? And Puffy was like, look, it's a nickname somebody gave me. And obviously Oprah, being an interviewer, she was like, okay, but we're gonna prod here. And then Puff Daddy was like, look, I've never told anyone that. I know you get people to tell you everything, Oprah, but I can't look you in the eye and explain that one. He's like, no, we're gonna have a name change ceremony. I'm rocking with, a new moniker now. My man Biggie gave me that. So who else was at these parties? Mariah Carey, Paris Hilton were spotted enjoying the lavish and extravagant atmosphere. Going back to Usher, once again, so he was mentored by Puff Daddy. He was at a lot of these parties. He's mentioned a lot of the wild things, and he once, kind of handed over Bieber. Other high-profile guests included music icon Diana Ross, Hollywood actor Owen Wilson, but we're gonna go back to Ashton Kutcher for a moment. Because even though he said, I can't talk about anything, and oh, I never did anything, their friendship goes way back. In the mid-2000s, they were so close that they were like, oh, we're the new Rat Pack, us and Jamie Foxx. So when Ashton said hey, I can't talk about a lot of this, what can't you talk about? Because the Daily Mail is like, hey, we think you might be expecting a subpoena soon about what you do know. And sure, yeah, Puffy has said, nothing's happening. But if Ashton Kutcher is worried about potential betrayal, what would he be betrayed about? Just saying.
Now, one thing that was emphasized was that Oprah's show came before everything else, including her employees' families. When Oprah launched the OWN network, the first show she premiered was season 25, Oprah Behind the Scenes. Now, in that episode, she asked women that worked for her to speak about their experiences, and they did not hold back. Now, a large portion of the women who worked for Oprah had their own families, and they spoke about how they had to make certain sacrifices in their personal lives points for the success of the show. They talked about the challenges they faced as working moms, and one of them was quoted as saying, "I had to be okay with making sacrifices for work. I hope I inspire that passion in my children." Now, Oprah thanked them for working long hours and sacrificing their personal lives, but made it clear that it was necessary and par for the course. I mean, yes, it is important to be dedicated to your work, but not having the balance of being able to be with your family just seems way too extreme. I mean, you'd think with Oprah being worth so much money, she'd be able to hire as many people as she needed and not leave people overworked or missing important events in their lives. Now, to be honest, I really hate that rule. Now, this was just reaffirmed by Libby Moore, who spent 11 years working as Oprah's chief of staff. "I hit the job jackpot," she told Women's Agenda from her New York base. "It was like winning a grand slam. It was extraordinary, and even now, 5.5 years after leaving, it's actually hard to articulate because it was so massive," she said. Now, to say that the job was consuming was a vast understatement. An average day saw Libby arrive for work between 6:30 and 7 a.m. and leave between 10 to 11 p.m. Now, the show was syndicated to 144 countries, and the demands were constant. Libby would routinely reply to 250 emails while watching the taping of the talk show, and that was just 1 hour of her 15-hour day. "I got to take care of her so that she could do what she did best. It was my pleasure to support her in that way," Libby explained. "As far as pressure goes, the highs were super high and the lows were super low. Not because of Oprah, because of everything else swirling around that level of power, money, and fame. I wasn't very good at balancing my life. As amazing as the job was and the friendship that Oprah and I had, my personal life was really suffering. I had 3 long-term relationships while I was in that job," she says. "I could not continue any longer in the position. I needed to take a leap of faith and see where I would land." Wow, that is very intense. Then there's also the fact that Oprah makes everyone sign NDAs. Now, this isn't too surprising, but most NDAs are for a limited time. Hers though, well, her staff must sign lifetime agreements. In the year 2000, Oprah defended the restrictive gag order for employees, saying, "I have to function in an environment where I feel I could trust my employees." Now, honestly, this just feels extreme, but it seems like they take this quite seriously, as Elizabeth Cody, a former producer for Harpo Productions, wanted to write a tell-all book about her experiences, but she was unable to. Now, the whole thing went through court, but Oprah had a strong team. Now, in addition to having NDAs that keep her safe, she also has the best security team. Oprah once hired Michael J. White to her security team before he went on to become the first black actor to play a superhero. White is trained in Taekwondo, Jiu-Jitsu, and numerous other martial arts. Now, it seems like Oprah really puts an emphasis on safety, physical and intellectual. Something else is that you need to be prepared to deal with controversies and the potential there could be lawsuits, and you might be called in to testify. Or the fact that a case could completely throw your life for a loop. You see, in the spring of 1996, according to CBS News, the United Kingdom experienced an outbreak of mad cow disease. Per the FDA, the disease destroys cows' central nervous system, and if humans eat infected beef, they can contact a deadly variant. Now, during the mad cow scare, the Oprah Winfrey Show booked Howard Lehman, and the former cattle rancher had adopted a vegetarian lifestyle and went to work for the Humane Society's Eating with Conscious Animal Welfare campaign, and he appeared on the show to discuss the threat of mad cow to Americans. Now, he pointed out that feeding the remains of mad cow infected cattle to other animals could have facilitated the spread, and that such practices were common in the US. Now, Oprah was left stunned by this. Now, with Oprah's influence, right after the episode aired, beef prices plummeted for almost 2 weeks, hitting a 10-year low. Now, as a result, a group of Texas cattle ranchers sued Oprah for $10.3 million, alleging that her remarks caused undue harm to the entire beef industry. Now, one Texas rancher, Paul Engler, lost an estimated $6.7 million and organized a class action libel lawsuit against Oprah and her show's producers for besmirching American beef. Now, after a 6-week trial in Texas, she won, but I mean, just imagine having to go through all of that.
Now, this wasn't a rule for her staff, but for who was paying them. The first year of her talk show, Oprah gave her staff members rolls of toilet paper. Now, in an interview with The Hollywood Reporter, Oprah said she put a special message in the rolls back in 1986. Now, this came in the wake of management refusing to give the staff raises. They said, direct quote, "Why do they need more money? They're a bunch of girls." I said, well, it's a bunch of girls who are now doing a national show. And they said they're in the same room, with the same desks, in the same office, on the same street. They don't need any more money, recalled Oprah. So if management wasn't going to help, Oprah decided that she would find a way to reward her employees. So that first year, I gave everyone bonuses. I had a big dinner, and my idea of being creative was to have $10,000 rolled up into toilet paper rolls at the dinner as gifts because I couldn't get my management to pay them, she revealed. Then I went to management and said, if you don't pay them, I'm not going to work. By the next year, it was like, I'm not going to keep paying them, I shouldn't have to pay everybody out of my salary. That informed me that if I ever get my own business, I'm going to pay people well, she said. Now, it's actually really good that she did this and created a change, especially for the times. And Oprah also makes sure that all of her staff are acting appropriately. You see, the Oprah Winfrey Leadership Academy for Girls opened in Johannesburg in 2007. This was one of Oprah's passion products, as she founded it with $40 million of her own money, and she even hand-selected the 152 students who attended. But less than a year after the school opened, 6 of the 152 students who had been personally selected came forward to accuse dorm matron Virginia Tiny MacGobo of mistreating them. Virginia pleaded not guilty, and her trial was ongoing. She was arrested in November 2007 and released on bail, where she faced 14 different charges. "It has shaken me to my core," Oprah said, of returning to South Africa with a team of private detectives to investigate the allegations and personally speak with the girls. "This has been one of the most devastating, if not the most devastating, experiences in my life," she said. Now, in the end, Oprah fired all the matrons no matter what, and following the first trial, she was then sued by the headmistress of the school for defamation. She alleged that Oprah defamed her by implying she was covering up the mistreatment going on at the school. However, this case was later settled outside of court before the arranged trial, according to CNN.
Well, on a walk back to her vehicle recently, Oprah was ambushed by a paparazzi with various questions about her recent involvement in the US presidential election. For those not aware of the situation, Oprah has been accused of being paid $1 million to appear at an event supporting Kamala Harris's campaign. TMZ obtained the exclusive video of this impromptu Oprah interview. It was quick and clear to viewers that Oprah did not want to engage, giving short answers and telling them multiple times that she wasn't going to answer their questions. The first question was about what Oprah thought of the election results, and her answer was sweet but firm in that she didn't want to discuss the matter. However, you can see her demeanor change when the cameraman presses on anyways, asking if it was true that she was paid to endorse Harris. Oprah spoke very clearly when she said that that wasn't true and that she was paid nothing ever. As the pop continued to ask various questions, Oprah got in her car, and as the door closed, it was clear the impromptu interview was over. But paid endorsement accusations aren't the only ones giving the talk show host grief right now. People eagerly await to see if Oprah will publicly comment on the situation with Diddy and everything that people are accusing her of providing the victims to the freak-offs, to having a connecting secret underground tunnel system within the rapper's home. There are all sorts of outlandish theories out there. The reason Oprah has found her name attached to Diddy in the headlines is because people noticed how comfortable she appeared with the rapper in party snapshots. As mentioned, Sean Diddy Combs is in some serious trouble right now after multiple people have stepped forward accusing him of engaging with them without consent, forcing people to consume things they don't want to, filming compromising situations, and then later using that footage as blackmail for people, and just generally being a really awful person, and definitely not the kind of guy you'd want your name attached to, especially not if you are someone as famous as Oprah, the kind of personality that has established themselves over the years as someone in firm support of the movement and amplifying victims' voices. Now, coming back to bite Oprah are all the pictures of her partying with Sean Diddy Combs at events he's hosted and others hosted by third parties. Here's the thing though, many big Hollywood names have appeared on a Diddy guest list, but not everyone has been a guest at a freak-off, which are the parties that everyone really has a problem with. Diddy was known as the party host in the 2000s. He hosted massive birthday parties, the white attire parties, wild after parties. The bashes were known for being over the top and expensive and extravagant and everyone wanting to be there. A Diddy birthday invite was once a VHS featuring a dozen celebrities personally inviting the viewer, including Oprah actually. Another invite featured a literal golden ticket. It was a status symbol to be around that much wealth. The main parties were apparently often pretty standard as far as parties go. Allegedly, it was the Diddy after parties that were the freak-offs. Many news sites report that by the time a party descended into a freak-off, the famous faces would have already left. Like anything, there are always rumors online about various celebrities being caught at the events, like Oprah. But people aren't just accusing Oprah of attending freak-offs, but also helping put them on. Some sites even claiming she provided the victims. They claim that one way she would have brought people over is via an underground secret tunnel system connecting Oprah's home to Diddy's. Rumors of a tunnel system below Oprah's home have been around for years, but with all the Diddy drama lately, that rumor's being dug up again. Some TikTok users even claim to have access to and explore abandoned Oprah mansions. The tunnel situation really caught fire when one woman claimed that not only was Oprah a key player, but that she had the address to a tunnel entrance. Adria English filed a lawsuit against Diddy, claiming she worked for Combs at the Hamptons and Miami parties he threw in the mid to late 2000s. In addition to allegedly being forced to consume things, English claims she was also forced to engage in actions she didn't want to do. She claims she was told by Diddy that in exchange for her actions, he would help her and her then boyfriend break into the entertainment world in their respective industries, music and modeling. English alleges that he never kept up his end of the bargain, and now she is suing Diddy and those deemed his co-conspirators for $50 billion. Adria English did have legal representation, but they have since parted ways. One of the lawyers claimed that English was disrespectful and self-destructive, making it impossible to continue representing her. However, the legal team did say that they never lost faith in her case, just in her. To which English allegedly responded with, "I am the client, you work for me." How does this tie back to Oprah? A major point of conflict between English and her legal team was that they requested that English not speak to any form of media, and soon after parting ways, English spoke to independent media. And that interview made its way around TikTok gossip pages and conspiracy pages. English made the bombshell claim that there were tunnels under Oprah's home. She also made the bold statement, she sees what's going on because she's a participant. And there appears to be a shortcut in the video, so it's unclear if her next statement came right after this line or if the video was edited, but the next words Adria English spoke in the video are, "I ain't gonna say allegedly, sue me." As of right now, no credible news site has confirmed that or that a tunnel system exists under any of Oprah's properties or that she was involved with or helped Diddy or anyone else with something like this. I do not wish to discredit Adria English, just clarify that the information she has shared hasn't been officially confirmed or fact-checked by a credible news site yet. Oprah has made little to no comment on the Diddy situation, but maybe it'll take a year until she does speak on the issue. That is what happened back in 2013 regarding her 2011-2012 nervous breakdown. In 2013, the talk show host admitted that the rumors circulating from the year before about how she was having a nervous breakdown were 100% true. She shared all this and more in an interview with Access Hollywood. Let's set that scene. Oprah is/was, if not the biggest talk show host back in 2011, so big that she could launch her own network. It was called the Oprah Winfrey Network, or OWN. What was supposed to be the start of a prosperous new chapter didn't really go according to plan. The network apparently struggled when it debuted, it struggled to take off, and it was struggling to stay up, to the point where Oprah started to suffer a nervous breakdown. The wind of this when it was happening, it was in all the headlines, but Oprah kept to herself about it until a year later when she admitted it was all true. The talk show host shared that her breakdown was literally happening in the middle of her struggling network, and I do mean literally. She shared the moment she realized that she was breaking down when she was in the middle of doing voiceovers. She said, "I remember closing my eyes in between each page because looking at the page and the words at the same time was too much stimulation for my brain." She also shared that she started noticing other symptoms when she was interviewing Jason Russell in 2012. Their chat was all about his public breakdown, which included him running unclothed in the streets. Oprah never got to that point, let me assure you, but she did say that talking to Russell, hearing about his lived experience, his symptoms, clued her into the fact that she could relate and was experiencing some of them. Oprah Oprah explained in the Access Hollywood interview, "In the beginning, it was just sort of speeding in a kind of numbness and going from one thing to the next thing to the next thing." She also said she told herself, "All right, if I don't calm down, I'm gonna be in serious trouble." The talk show host acknowledged that she had worn herself thin and reached a breaking point, a point where she just couldn't handle any more stimulation. Oprah was always one to tell people to push through hard times and hold on to their dreams, and this situation was testing her ability to do just that. While her new network wasn't exactly tanking, it was doing poorly enough that it just wasn't where Oprah wanted it to be, and it could be considered a failure. The media was having a grand old time writing about the network's failure, which only made the wound hurt more. About this, Oprah had said, "Nobody was more surprised than I was about that." She then went on to talk about how this was the moment she realized that she needed to hunker down because, as she believes, there is no such thing as failure. She said that failure is just God telling you to move in another direction. Slowly but surely, the network started seeing their ratings improve to the point where Oprah stopped believing that she should be worried. The experience let her, in her words, walk that walk and not just talk it about following and sticking with your dreams.
Narcissists are people who suffer from a mental disorder characterized by constant self-serving behavior, selfish intentions, superiority complexes, and more. They harm those around them almost habitually, but could the world's most famous philanthropist be one as well? Up first, entitlement. One of the key indicators of narcissism is entitlement. Narcissists believe they are special, deserving of better treatment and more privileges than the standard person. What could be more emblematic of entitlement than Oprah's consistent behavior surrounding her massive media empire? There are all sorts of different events that have shown her entitlement, perhaps one of the most famous being when she attempted to worm her way into the Paris store Hermes to go clothes shopping. The fact the store was closed and preparing for a party did not seem to faze her, though perhaps it should have. This would end up exploding into controversy, which Oprah has rarely shied away from, when it can be turned to suit her needs at least. This level of entitlement is emblematic of narcissism. Up next is grandiosity. Narcissists are known for their need to be grandiose. Events, meetings, arguments cannot be small and calm affairs. They need to be events where the narcissists can showcase themselves, improve their standing, or generally increase their social capital. A narcissist could never present themselves to the public without being displayed in the best possible light. This is a general aspect of many celebrities' lives, but especially so for TV hosts who make millions of dollars off of their presentations to the public. They're weekly shows of grandeur that bring in thousands or even millions of viewers. It shouldn't be too surprising that Oprah has a pretty clear attachment to grandiosity, whether this is from an intense internal drive and desire to put up a front of power, beauty, and likability, or a simple result of her living coming from the image that she can present to the world. Next is the superiority complex. Narcissists must believe themselves to be superior. It is one of the only ways to justify their continued self-serving actions. It shouldn't really come as much of a surprise that a person who has spent decades as one of the most famous and influential celebrities on earth, whose name is synonymous with unbridled generosity and wisdom, who's worth billions of dollars, would end up with some level of a superiority complex. We can see it in her treatment of several guests, as well as in her treatment of her family. She reportedly complained furiously when forced to use bedsheets and towels that weren't of a high enough thread count and quality while visiting her stepmother. Oftentimes, narcissists are least able to hide their true selves when with family, which seems to indicate Oprah is not as humble as she claims. Up next is arrogance. Oprah's arrogance is legendary. Some would even claim unrivaled. Take, for instance, the time the multi-billionaire asked the general public to help fund the Maui relief effort, while only donating $5 million. Given her net worth of well over $2 billion, this is essentially chump change to her. Even more arrogantly, she made the national tragedy, which was already receiving significant attention, into an opportunity to grab publicity, staging a large announcement and event to go along with her small donation. But perhaps the worst of it all is that Oprah used the money to buy up 870 acres of Maui, once more showing how the rich often use tragedy to snatch up land and resources, which they then use for personal gain while fronting as humanitarians. The exploitation of those in need for purposes of personal gain is one of the most consistent trends in all of history, and Oprah has certainly not shied away from doing the same. Only to then turn around and say, hey, see this massive issue that I could completely fix with a wave of my hand? How about I buy up all the valuable land from the now destitute locals, and you pay to fix everything for me, so that I can get to exploiting them faster. Next, manipulates others. Narcissists are almost required to be manipulators. It is how they function and gain what they feel they deserve to gain. The self-serving, self-aggrandizing way that narcissists live is often only accessible through continuous and severe manipulation. Guilting, gaslighting, lying, cheating, scamming, and stealing are all classic tactics and techniques which narcissists use to extract value from their prey. Oprah has often been accused of these actions, especially during her early career, when her show was little more than a televised freak show, bringing people on to be pitied or hated for views and cash. Behind the veneer of preaching living your best life, it becomes pretty clear that to Oprah that means for her, regardless of the social, emotional, or monetary consequences of those that she manipulates. Up next is gaslighting. Gaslighting, popularized by the play Gaslight, in which a husband attempts to manipulate his wife into believing she's gone insane and can't be left alone by changing things around the house and lying when she begins to get suspicious. The modern word has been used in all sorts of scenarios, but is meant to mean a situation wherein someone attempts to make you doubt your sanity or reality through constant lies and manipulation. Oprah is adept at this by keeping narratives just beneath the surface of her work. She gaslights us by contrasting her caring tone and surface level intentions with the obvious fact that she doesn't really care for the average person at all. One of Oprah's key narratives is that of self-love and body positivity, which is a vital aspect of encouraging positive self-image and is incredibly important. She markets this through her former company Weight Watchers, which alleges it can help subscribers lose weight easily. The only issue, Oprah herself is not a subscriber to that ideal and is more than willing to engage in deeply unhealthy behavior and the use of drugs to match society's expectations rather than practicing what she preaches. Next is the lack of empathy. Oprah is known as an empathetic person. She has to be for her tear-jerking shows to make sense. She brings on people to reveal a vulnerable part of themselves for millions to watch at home. How empathetic can you be when your main goal is how much money you can extract from your show? Plenty of people have a seriously invested interest in helping people who are struggling, in supporting mental health and mental health awareness. They just don't make millions of dollars off of publicizing and showcasing how good of a person they are. Off-screen, Oprah is another person entirely, which indicates just how much of a show her false empathy is. Instead of selflessly rebuilding Maui after the devastating fires, something she easily could have done, she bought up hundreds of acres of land on the cheap. Plus, she was responsible for the Dr. Phil show, which followed Oprah's lead of exposing deeply troubled people to mass media attention in order to siphon off as much cash as could be made. Up next is the false image projection. Narcissists obviously have to present a false image. If they showed themselves to be their true self, they would quickly be seen as the manipulating, self-centered liars that they are, and that simply would not do. Reality TV, by comparison, is almost entirely and exclusively image projection. Now, Oprah does a very good job of covering as much of this up as she can by forcing her entire crew and guests to sign incredibly restrictive non-disclosure agreements. These agreements likely include something along the lines of preventing and prohibiting any negative talk to ever be repeated. Questions to even retired staff along the lines of what was the craziest or worst or sketchiest thing to happen on the show are completely ignored in multiple Reddit AMAs and interviews. This coupled with dozens of people alluding heavily to Oprah not being nearly so magnanimous and generous behind the screen as she pretends to be in front of it, and we get an idea of just how false an image she presents to the world. Simply put, Oprah is not interested in the emotional and mental health of those around her and who work for her, but instead the image and presentation of a self-help show, magazine, blog, and more that rakes in millions of dollars. Up next is exploitation. Exploitation, for narcissists at least, is the result of careful manipulation and gaslighting, the fruits of their harmful and self-serving labor. The exploitation of their victims gives the narcissist what they want: validation, physical pleasure, emotional control, power, money, and more. But for someone who is rich and powerful with a media empire and dozens of affiliated companies, exploitation ceases to be a personal thing and simply becomes a way of life. Don't like your contract? This is the Oprah show. Plenty of people would be willing to work for that price. You're replaceable. Don't feel comfortable exposing your most intimate fears, insecurities, and vulnerabilities to an audience of millions? Don't worry, it's Oprah. Nothing bad would ever happen to you. Don't like that your oh so generously given free car will actually cost you several thousands of dollars? Dollars you may not have? Well, that part won't make it to TV anyways. And just to be sure, have everyone, everywhere sign strict and long-lasting non-disclosure agreements so no one will ever know just how badly they got shafted. The final and perhaps most key point, narcissists can do no wrong, in their own minds at least. No failure or harm or consequence is ever their fault. No success, growth, or benefit is ever anyone else's responsibility but theirs. We see this with Oprah as well, but on a scale more significant and more well concealed than almost anywhere else. Oprah is the face of her multitude of industries. Not only is it in her best interests, but also in the best interests of her shareholders for her to never do any wrong. Rampant maltreatment and harm within her youth leadership programs? A bad actor, surely nothing systemic. Toxic ideals being spread by her numerous weight-conscious exploits? A simple misinterpretation of the Queen's intention. We will likely never know the multitude of ways that Oprah has caused harm and covered it up, simply because she and her shareholders make literal dozens of millions of dollars from her squeaky clean image.
Oprah made a career-ending mistake when herself and Dwayne Johnson broke the one rule of being a billionaire. Don't ask poor people for their money. A few weeks ago, Oprah and The Rock announced that they would be starting a relief fund for the victims of the Maui wildfires. The People's Fund of Maui was given a solid $10 million to get off the ground, $10 million donated by Oprah and Dwayne combined. So why is it just Oprah that's getting so much hate? Well, it's because she has a net worth of roughly $2.8 billion. That is billion with a B. The world is collectively furious at Oprah for having the audacity to ask working class citizens for charity when most people can barely afford to put food on their tables. The Rock and Oprah donated $5 million each to give the fund a head start. Well, guess what? $5 million to Oprah is like $500 to us. Just chump change. Oprah has responded to the backlash online and is very confused as to where all this hate is coming from. Oprah has been known for a long time as being a pretty charitable woman. Who could forget Oprah's famous "you get a car, everyone gets a car" moment? The moment was historical on her series and it was parodied time and time again, and it still does to this day. However, what a lot of people don't know is that that wasn't really the case. It wasn't as simple as "here are your keys, have fun." Whenever someone gives out anything, especially on television, there's always a catch. For Oprah's audience, the catch was that if they actually wanted to drive away in their brand new car, they would have to pay over $7,000 first in taxes. While Oprah's studio would of course cover like the sales tax and the registration for each car, the audience members were given a choice to either pay the $7,000 and take the car or simply take the cash instead. The infamous moment on the show featured 11 real teachers who were, according to Oprah, in desperate need of a new car. They, along with the audience, received keys in a box on camera that Oprah claimed to be for their new cars. Everything has a catch though, even now. For someone who's known for being charitable and generous, the word free clearly means something else to Oprah. Now, the world is understandably frustrated. Imagine someone with a physical gold bar around their neck asking you for spare change on the street. Hey, what's that thing around your neck? It's shiny, it makes me feel bad about myself. Use that. Oprah has always been a little bit twisted. Let's not forget just what her show really is. Oprah used to bring the most vulnerable people that she could find onto the show to share their stories. While some were just actors, gurus, or people sharing positive tragedies, there were also just so many people who would just cry on her show. And let's not forget the other careers that this woman is responsible for creating, especially programs with some of her friends. Oprah is not just responsible for many hopes and dreams being squashed live on air, she's actually also the creator of a couple of talk show celebrities, namely health expert Dr. Oz, and of course the so-called life coach, Dr. Phil. Before Dr. Phil had his own show, Oprah actually asked him and his courtroom consulting firm to help with a trial. Before meeting Oprah, Phil apparently had zero interest in being a television personality, but Oprah made him see the light, so to speak. According to Phil, she helped him understand the power of these shows and what they were truly made for. For Phil, he brings people onto his show who are struggling with personal issues that just so happen to be good for TV. Remember the Catch Me Outside girl? Dr. Phil made her rich rich, and famous. Good job, buddy. But it's not just Phil that's had some controversial moments. Her other protege, Dr. Oz, has had some pretty rough moments as well. His show is centered around medicine and health, which is never controversial, right? Bringing so-called experts on every week. My mother absolutely loved this guy, and she will not stop hammering in his tactics. Oprah was partnered with both of these people, meaning that whatever their shows made, she got a little bit of something for her trouble. Now, she doesn't like to advertise how much she actually made from these programs, but considering how many episodes there have been and how long the programs have run for, it's probably a lot. Like, think about all of the money that this woman has made off of the tragedies of others. This situation with Maui is just another one of the many so-called foundations and charities that she's behind. Now, while some have been extremely beneficial to the world, especially the Oprah Winfrey Leadership Academy for Girls in South Africa, others are just clear cash grabs and bragging right makers like this one. If Oprah really wanted to make a difference and truly help the people of Maui, she would have donated $10 million by herself and gotten Dwayne to match it or something. But let's not forget about the other person involved in the situation, Dwayne Johnson, aka The Rock. He's one of the busiest and most bankable men in Hollywood. This man has appeared in everything, and he even turned himself into a superhero when he played Black Adam. His power and influence knows no bounds. Now, of these two, we understand why Dwayne would feel that this is an important cause, because he has family on the island and spent a ton of time in Maui growing up. Now, Oprah is just Oprah. She actually purchased a property in Maui not long before the fires broke out. Many believe that the only reason that she even cares about the situation is because she owns land there. If she was still living in the States, she would have continued to live her life without a care in the world. The proof that they believe Maui is home is comparing their efforts to that of Dolly Parton, who organized a foundation to assist people in Tennessee after a wildfire destroyed thousands of homes. I've actually stayed in Gatlinburg, where she's from, many times. It is a beautiful town, but from what I understand, the resort that I used to stay at with my family has practically been burned down to the ground. Dolly did an incredible job and continues to do humanitarian work across the US and around the world to this day. However, when Oprah asked people to do it, it just felt weird. Like someone who was not from this place was taking a vested interest in the situation. Before this Maui situation though, Oprah was a well-respected TV host. But as it turns out, there might have been some dark truths behind the production of her show that should have been red flag after red flag. Case in point, the confidentiality agreements. Now, confidentiality agreements are not uncommon in the world of Hollywood. Heck, Marvel will literally have someone take you out if you even think about sharing their secrets. In Kitty Kelly's tell-all book about Oprah, the author mentions the confidentiality agreements that co-workers and guest stars were made to sign. This included everyone from Tom Cruise to the person who made his muffins. Over 500 staff members were forced to sign this document, but one former employee, Elizabeth Cody, tried to write a book about her time working for Oprah, but she was apparently stopped by the courts, still being tied to this agreement that she had signed even though she didn't really work for the show anymore. The NDAs were not meant to be a way to keep just the show secrets safe, but any and all of Oprah's secrets as well. According to Elizabeth, the document was signed by almost everyone in Oprah's life. She may have this brand of sweetness and kindness, but apparently that's just not how she is. Elizabeth felt that she was in Oprah's pocket, so to speak, after she signed the paperwork. In 2010, a lawsuit was filed against Oprah and her company. Unicus Performance Training claimed that they were fired for violating the terms of her agreement, specifically involving advertisement with her name or the website of the show. But it's not only the former staff that are made to keep silent. Oprah's own family has spoken out about her past behavior since the news of this scandal broke a few weeks ago. On air, Oprah is portrayed as this wholesome, sweet lady, but according to her stepmother, there is an unknown side to Oprah hidden from fans for years. According to Barbara, Oprah is one of the most controlling people you will ever meet. She claims that Oprah would not allow them to stay at her house when they tried to visit, forcing her own parents to stay in hotels with money out of their pockets. Barbara also said that Oprah was quick to anger, especially when it came to her staff, with several people being fired left and right over the years for the littlest things. But that's not all. Despite being a billionaire, Barbara actually lets Oprah stay at her home when she visits, which is something that Oprah apparently just hates. The first time she ever stayed over, Oprah allegedly complained that her bed sheets were not 1,000 threads and that her bath towels weren't big enough. That last one's a little little excusable, okay? If you ever used a giant bath towel, I'm never going back. This woman has billions of dollars to do literally anything she wants, and what she wants is to make her family feel like a burden. It turns out that her wild child behavior, though, started a long time ago, well before she was a TV host, way back when she was just a little one. Several books have been published about Oprah over the years, some from her and some that are not. In her own book that she wrote, Oprah revealed that growing up she was far from an easy kid to handle. When she was young, she was sent to live with her father Vernon after she was caught stealing from her mother's purse. Despite being an on-screen persona known for charity and kindness, she was actually a menace throughout most of her life, according to family members at least. As I've mentioned previously, Oprah's stepmother is not allowed to stay at her house, and she is known to be pretty controlling. She admitted to doing some pretty troubling things at a very young age, including staging an amnesia bout where she broke several things in her mother's house and then called the police. According to Oprah's mother, she was uncontrollable, ungrateful, and after robbing her, maybe a little bit crazy. As the situation continues, more and more is surely going to come out of the situation with Oprah. While the current news is that the fund is active, she is inactive and refuses to discuss the backlash with anyone. She recently made a television appearance giving one of her most honest interviews of all time, discussing things like her use of Ozempic, obesity in general, and the shame that surrounds weight loss supplements. That's nice, but where's the money talk? People loved Oprah up until a few weeks ago, and now she won't even comment on the hate that she's receiving.